Good morning. It's the early hours here in Anchorage, Alaska. So I had a conversation with Brian of College Station yesterday, the day before. Well, now I can't remember. I did it on Zoom. I'm still learning the right technology for the right thing. But I recorded Zoom wrong. It was only my screen. So what follows is just going to be audio, because that just seemed the easiest way to do it rather than only have my face on the screen. So I figured I'd put my face on the screen here and prove that I am in Anchorage, Alaska. I really enjoyed talking with Brian at College Station. The only visual detail that is important is Brian is wearing a red hat that says "Make Grace Amazing Again." So we talk about his hat at the end of our conversation, and then after the conversation was over and we had stopped recording, Brian had asked me, he said, "So Ethan, are you planning on doing like a bunch of interviews? Like, are you wanting to do like the interview thing?" I was like, no, I don't want to do the interview thing. No, not at all. However, I was just the way Brian and I connected briefly on X, I was interested, and my immediate reaction had been, somebody else will have this conversation. This conversation's for somebody else. But nobody else was interested in the way I was interested. So I reached out to Brian. So I wouldn't expect many interviews here on this space from me. But if there's something that's interesting, that interests me, and the interview is the best format for that, then yeah, sure, you bet, I'll do an interview. There are so many formats, there are so many mediums, and I think part of being human is capturing ideas, and I mean, honestly, as you capture them, to determine what medium should this go in? How should this appear to the world? And then you roll with the punches, because it was supposed to be a Zoom dual screen interview, but it's an audio interview. So, that's what we got. Ta-ta for now.
Recording in progress. All right, we're live.
It's polite of her to say.
It's so polite, isn't it? Oh, I'm gonna get. Yeah. I gotta take these off. I'm gonna get roasted for glare. Okay, so Brian, you and I briefly interacted on X, and I only kind of remember I didn't go back and look at it. I should have. I don't even know whose thread we were on. And I don't know if you responded to me or I responded to you, to be honest, but it was about like local politics, and you jumped in and were like, in my city, there's a parking lot and things are happening. And I was like, that's interesting. And a couple weeks later, I was like, hey, why don't we just, like, you and me, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
And now we're here. You want to give any other intro in?
So I think that it was some sort of a discussion about art, or at least this is a place where it's come up, and I've so local politics is a place where I talk about stuff, not like on the internet associated with this little corner thing, but I complain on local chat boards. There's a famous one called Texags where people usually complain about the football team. So I live in a place, College Station, where Texas A&M is, and there's baseball drama, and football is always underperforming, and like, why can't we win a national championship? Because nobody wins a national championship. It's fine. And so that it's a place where people complain famously about that. But they also have a local thing where people talk about local politics stuff, and so I throw things up there, and occasionally I talk at city council meetings, but it's super inconvenient. But I do open records requests and yak with like the city manager knows who I am and stuff like this. So it's not a big town. About 100. I don't know if it's 120,000 at this point or something.
That's a big town from where I come from in southeast Wisconsin.
Okay, yeah, southeast Wisconsin. I don't know anything about Wisconsin.
In between Milwaukee and Madison. So I'm about like
Okay,
parents about an hour from either point in Wisconsin. And I
okay,
think they technically live in a village of, which has grown, but maybe I don't know. When we moved there, it was like maybe 7,000 people. Now maybe it's 17,000 people.
okay.
So 100,000.
Yeah,
I mean, you're doing all right.
yeah, and with the university too, like it hits above its weight culturally. So the university has on the order of 70,000 people. And so you wind up getting all kinds of events and things, and people coming in for football games, especially. But former heads of state will come in to go give a talk or whatever, goofy things like that. Giant library. It's a cool spot. And so so after I graduated college here, so I went to school here. I started, I can't remember why, but for some reason, I think I was like looking at the like local newspaper and stuff, because I don't know, the governor said something about secession. And so I was like, I like, because I like to talk about national stuff and goofy, I don't know, fringish, not super fringy, but fringish. I don't know. Like, I think secession is unfairly maligned often.
Okay.
There are good reasons to malign it too, but I think people poo-poo the idea of a peaceful separation, which I don't know. Like I was anyway, and so
open human being, and you're willing to set an idea out there and go, what is this idea? What are we talking about? What's happening here? Let's think about it. Is that fair?
I was probably more heavily proposing it. I'm being coy right now. I actually think it's a really good idea for people to not be locked into political arrangements where they're in control of each other's lives if they don't have to be. And so the idea of a bunch of Texans being in charge of how a bunch of Californians have to live their lives just sounds like a terrible, terrible idea to me. And yeah. And so like I got into a back and forth with the op-ed guy or something, and so I started paying more attention to the local newspaper, and then I found out about things like, they're going to build a toilet, a public toilet for $350,000, and I was like, that's crazy. Like that's it. And this was back in 2008 or something. So I remember that when I gave a little speech while they were doing it, and I was so proud of myself. I said, like, no, you could get one for half that price. There are lots of builders who would do it, and it would come with, a 3-car garage, a kitchen, 4 bedrooms, and like, this is ridiculous that y'all are spending this kind of money. Yeah, and so like having fun with going to city council meetings, and yeah.
Are you from College Station?
So I went to school here. I grew up in Houston, and then I went to school starting in 2003. And so I went to did my undergraduate at Texas A&M, which is the big school. And so I thought, as soon as I graduate, I'm going to leave and go to a real town again, because I thought, like, who would want to live here? And then I wound up getting a job because I like didn't prepare for graduation. Like I graduated 6 months early and like didn't see that coming. And wait, you're supposed to like work on getting one of those. And so, but I got connected with the people that I was interning with, and also took classes with a guy that works at this economic consulting joint where I'm at now. I wound up getting a job in town, and I just stuck around here for the last 20 years.
Okay, so you're from like regionally the same area, Go to school.
Yeah, so Houston's about 100-ish miles, kind of southeast. Yeah.
Go to school at Texas A&M in College Station,
Hmm. Yeah.
and then go, okay, I live here now. And you build a life in College Station.
Hmm.
And then you're engaged on the forums about sports, and then politics bleeds into that space.
Just pure politics. I don't get involved with the sports to the extent that people do here.
Okay.
So yeah,
But the
yeah.
internet forum posting is what led into you going to city council meetings.
Probably vice versa. I use the forum to try to push my agenda. Like they have no reason to listen to me, and so I have to figure out ways to. I have ideas about the way things ought to be done, things that ought to be changed, and so actually, I didn't have even a thing on this forum until I ran for county judge. Here. So county judge is like mayor of the county. And so the county here there's a twin city called Bryan that has also almost 100,000 people now. It used to be bigger than College Station, but so the whole county has 250,000, something like that. And because I had lived in Bryan for a little bit, I wasn't eligible to run for anything in College Station. So I went on ahead and like, well, okay, what am I eligible to run? Okay, county judge. All right, I'll do that. I looked up what was going on. I was like, oh, that's a giant waste of money. Okay, I've got issues. And the thing about running for something like county judge, for that one, it's a partisan one. So there's a Republican primary. And for the most part, people just like, whatever, I've got a big name. I go to the right church. I can raise money, vote for me. Nobody has like issues that they're serious about. And so I went in there and I was running against the sitting mayor of Bryan, a former mayor of Bryan, and then a guy who was a county commissioner who was the guy who won. But they all had to talk about my crap because I was the only person talking about anything. And so they spent an inordinate amount of time on the issues I was talking about because like they don't have polling requirements to get into debates and stuff.
Okay.
And so they technically had to take me as seriously as the other people. And yeah, so that was fun.
How did you end up running for county judge? I mean, like what in your life led you to go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to run for county judge.
So I had been involved prior to that. I had already talked about some stuff with local government stuff, with College Station stuff. I was very upset that they got rid of drinking on Northgate. So we've got a bar district here, which is technically the only area that you're not allowed to have an open container anymore. And that kind of, it changed the dynamic of what Northgate was like. And now it's a lot more insular. I suspect that getting rid of drinking on Northgate, or I say drinking on Northgate, you can still drink in the bars. You can't drink between the bars.
Yeah.
And so they don't have live music so much anymore. And I wonder if that's a part of it, because like it's no longer you have live music and people are milling around and it's like, oh, well, that sounds fun. We'll go in there. Like, I don't know. But anyway, it changed, and I've got just hyper libertarian bent to myself and everything. So talking about that stuff, talking about the spending on things like the toilets. There was a whole thing. I can't remember what the timing of it was, since it was like 15 plus years ago, but like they were floating a rule about how many trees you had to have on your property. And like, if you were going to cut down any trees, you either had to replace them with a equal or greater sized tree, or pay into a tree fund. And apparently, like, and I was like, what the hell are you talking? Like, this is like un-Texan. This is ridiculous. You can't do this. And so I was like giving speeches about how that was terrible. And
Is it someone's job to measure the size of these trees, and where do I apply?
It it was going to be. Right now, they do have they modified it, luckily, but now the thing is, a developer, if they're going to put in a house, they have to have either I think it's something on the order of like two. I don't know if it's 2-inch trees or 1 4-inch tree or something like that, and it's got to be of a certain type uh, in order for you to build a house in the city. And so, like, rules like that. Um, anyway, yeah. So presumably there's somebody, I guess it's in planning and development or something like that, whose job it is to monitor tree sizes.
Okay, so for a long time you have noticed the rules and seen how the rules influence your life, the lives of others, the life of the city. These are things that
Almost not my life whatsoever. Like it's they're messing with other people and I don't like it. And yeah, it's kind of ridiculous that, like, I don't build houses. I until fairly recently I never owned a house. Like, I'm no longer a student. I don't go to school, but for some reason I'm really worked up about the fact that they have zoning restrictions that effectively make it very difficult for students to be near the campus, and so it, like, wrecks the traffic near there, and it causes their commute times to be way longer than they should, and they don't have as much I guess university compatible is not the right, complementary economic stuff, like people building startups that taking advantage of the labor supply that we have here. Like, it's an engineering school. You can hire a programmer for nothing. Like, because you're competing with Starbucks and stuff. Like, it's a great place to do that kind of thing. But for some reason, the city says, "Oh no, but we've got these historic neighborhoods," and it's like, what are you talking about? You have the world's, like, by some metrics, the country's largest university. Like, we need to take advantage of that. But I already have a job. I don't drive to campus. I'm not a student. Like, why am I get involved with these kinds of things? And I learned about the Enneagram system. I don't know. Apparently,
oh yeah, keep talking. Let's go. Come on.
okay. So I suspect I might be a 1.
You sound like a one. So
Uh,
there's a little bit of like an inner judge in you, an inner perfectionist in you. There's a little bit
mhm,
like also, if I'm painting unfair caricatures, please jump in and shout. Um
sure.
there is someone inside of you that's concerned with, like, what you said, this, like the way things ought to be or should be or could be, or if we tweaked this thing here, this whole workflow, this whole system would make it better for everyone.
Yeah. Or yeah. I mean, I don't know about Pareto efficient. Like, I got to be fair. Like, somebody would be upset. I've met them. They would be upset. But I think uh, one, it's the right thing to do, like, just from a natural rights perspective, and also, like, I'm a big or ever since high school, I've been a big, like, natural rights, and the utilitarian outcomes tend to, like, they work out really well. Like,
Define natural rights for us, please.
oh man, like, yeah, that's a good uh, gotcha thing. I don't know. It's
I
it's
don't mean
kind
that.
of
Is that John Locke? Natural rights?
that type of thing, yeah. But just, like, other people have property, like, don't mess with them,
Sure, 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 sure.
and things like if somebody else owns a house and, like, oh, they want to rent to somebody, it's like, okay, well, if it's not bothering you, then it's not bothering you, and these kinds of things. Um, yeah, and so yeah, like, rights theory stuff about why people do things kind of overlaps with, I think. So I study economics, and it kind of blew my hair back when I learned about it. and it started clicking, and I started thinking that like, oh, that works out real well with like this utilitarian thing that I also kind of have, where I grew up thinking all socialists, like, it'd just be better if everybody did good things for each other. Like, why are these other people mean? Yeah.
Well, I see, and this is why in that X thread, I knew I wanted to talk to you, because there is this like theory stuff up here, but then you're also like, well, this theory is like practical and applicable, and that's what I love about, like, yeah, we could talk about John Locke, we could talk about Bentham and Mill and utilitarianism, but also like how do we
Yeah.
apply these things into our lives and like actually see the world shape and form to the small degree that we're able to shape and form the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like we can do some things, we can do things.
Right. So, and yeah, that makes sense to start steering in that direction. Cause like you asked me what's natural rights. Like there are people who are much better at talking about that kind of stuff than I am. And yeah, I stink. But the thing that I found that I kind of like is on a local level, like things aren't being covered by CNN or Fox News or MSNBC or anybody like that. There's some coverage, and thank God for them, by some of the local. So here we have a local TV station, local radio station, and they do a pretty good job of talking to these people and stuff, and covering some of the issues, but like a little bit more investigation, digging into it, like it can make a difference. Like I think in some cases it can affect behavior of these politician people who have, like, I'm one voter or whatever, like they have no reason to listen to me necessarily. But, when I get the receipts or whatever and I say like, hey, y'all did this thing, or you should do this thing or whatever, like it can make a bit of a difference. And so, yeah, I think the Grim Grizz fella, he talks about like what Alliance of Responsible Citizenship, like what the hell are you teaching people how to run for the school board or whatever? And it's like, yeah, he's not, but like I actually can talk about running for stuff. Like it's remarkably easy if you do it. You get to go in the debates, and if you know the issues, you can talk about them, and the other people, like, assuming you're a goofball that's over interested in these kinds of things, like, the issues better than everyone else. And it's kind of exciting to be in a situation where, like, you're talking about the budget and stuff, and they're like, no, we'll cut the budget. And it's like, no, like, here are some items, like, you cut this. Why haven't you cut this yet? Like adult kickball. That's my one that gets me, is $10,000 for adult kickball. Why? That's bullshit. Like, that's my canary in the coal mine. And $10,000, divided amongst 100,000 people, it's nothing. But it's like, but the fact that they haven't cut that yet is like, don't talk to me about, you care about property taxes. Bullshit. Like,
okay, but is there a chance that we can get that $10,000 in College Station applied to Paintball for Jesus in College Station?
I would fight you tooth and nail if you tried to pull that shit. I love a lot of good things, but I don't think that the taxpayers of College Station should be paying for any of that stuff.
Okay. Is there a chance that we can talk about Paintball for Jesus on a stage, but not make it a budget item? Can we make paintballing great across America and get the kids to stop playing video games? And on behalf of that fella Grim Grizz, are you
familiar with Alex Stein?
Nope.
Okay, well, he's a goofball. I think he's now related to the Blaze Network or whatever, the Glenn Beck thing, I think. Anyway, he's one of those people, and I think he got his big break from going to city council meetings during what they call, in Texas, it's a thing called Hear Visitors, where in here you get 3 minutes to talk about whatever bullshit you want. They can't interrupt you, and you get to talk about anything. And so he would go up there and talk about how uh, 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 all kinds of goofy things, about how, the Mavericks are not being run correctly. This is garbage, or like, oh, we need to stop making it so easy to get prostitutes. My wife's going to leave me. I don't know, just all kinds of crazy stuff. Just being ridiculous and treating it as uh, a show. And so I suspect that probably almost everywhere in America has something like that. It's super inconvenient here because, like, you never know when the thing's going to start. Because at least here here it's really inconvenient. Like, so they say, okay, it's going to start no earlier than 6 or something, but they do what they call an executive session where they talk with their attorney present, so that way they can do it behind closed doors to talk about whatever. And sometimes that runs over. And so, like, I've tried to show up for a Here Visitors thing, and then, it doesn't start until like 7:15 or something like that. It's like, ah, crap. And so it's really inconvenient to, like, participate in this thing. I had an idea that we would start tailgating the city council meetings in order to make it more fun. And I tried that with my friend, and the police were like, you have a beer in the city council chambers. And I'm like, yeah. And they were like, you can't do that. And I'm like, show me the law. And they were like, come on, man. And I'm like, no, like, get out. You, like, don't. Eventually, I threw it out or whatever. But they don't like it when you bring beer into the chambers. But I don't know. I'm still thinking,
the city
like,
council
outside of it.
when you bring beer into the chamber. Hey, give me 1 sec. I got to put meatballs in the oven. One sec.
Super.
Okay, so Zoom's telling me I got 8 minutes and 49 seconds. Otherwise, I got to upgrade and pay money. I don't know if that
Okay.
means that.
Could we just cut out and then cut back in?
That's what I'm wondering. So, okay, so
You know, try.
let's go for 5 more minutes because that'll be a good amount of time, and then we'll try that. Okay,
Yeah.
so from where we've talked about, let's take us into then kind of the parking lot, that was the thing that you and I
Oh, yeah.
bring us there.
So you saw a picture. So I used Twitter as a way to post a picture online because I didn't have any other way to do it. And Twitter makes it kind of easy. So I used that to post a picture because there's a big hubbub uh, in the Northgate area. The city owns a parking lot. And I don't know if, like, sharing screen, or I don't know. Nobody cares. But so there's a parking lot in Northgate. And Northgate is on the perimeter of this largest university in the country thing. The property goes for $1 bazillion an acre. They were selling it. They asked for bids. They did a request for bids for either 1 acre or 1.5 acres. They said, like, shoot us a thing for that, but it's got to have these characteristics. You have to give us 100 parking spaces that the city gets kind of ownership of, use of. You have to put in a police substation. You have to put in a public bathroom. You have to have, at least, I can't remember if it was like 3,500 square feet of commercial space, like all of these rules. And even with all those rules, the what was going to be the winning bid was $13 million for 1.5 acres, like, because it's like our downtown area. So It's yeah, and they were gonna to share the revenue for the 100 anyway parking spots and all that kind of stuff. But everyone got up in arms and was like, "Oh no, it's going to kill the character of the community." That's the line that a lot of people use, like, "Oh, the historical nature or whatever of this thing." It's like it's a friggin' parking lot, man. But people have this, I don't know, and I get the impression that there were a lot of different groups. Like one person started a petition that indicated, like, I don't think most people who signed the petition read the petition, but the petition said, like, oh, you should have used this other bid. And I did an open records request, and I got the information from that bid. The amount of money that they were going to spend on that one was less than $4 million. So like it would have been a huge discount to the local developer that, like, I don't know, like, it seems all kinds of weird to me. I don't know. But anyway, you can do open records requests and find all this bid information and see, like, what the hell's going on. And there's a lot of people are wrong about stuff like, oh, you know, oh, this other one, it was going to be 10 times as much commercial space. And it's like, no, it's not. You can look at the thing and see that, like, no, I don't know. So people say all kinds of stuff that's wrong, and I don't know. That upsets me.
Why did this
I don't really
spark so much interest in you?
Oh, it was the issue was so they were going to sell this thing, and I think that they should sell this thing. I think the city is really crappy at doing parking. They own that parking lot, and they own a parking garage over there, and they make almost no money with, like, really valuable assets. They're horrible at doing this stuff. And so they were going to sell that parking lot, and there was the winning bid and set up. And then there was this petition that was saying a bunch of stuff. And I was like, I don't think that's right. And then there was a city council person who was trying to use the hubbub to try to push, because prior to that, he was trying to get people to get excited about ideas he had about what I suspect he's denied it, but what I suspect would be a, you know, city designed thing where they're going to have their hands all in it, and in charge of, you know, how it can, what the design's going to be, and inevitably, you know, either they're going to wind up having to sell land for nothing, or they're going to have to throw a bunch of money into it. And I just thought, like, a lot of people are saying things and they're not being straight with everyone. Like, you know, this guy, he wants to create his own Disneylands that the city's taxpayers going to have to pay for. These other people are saying, like, oh no, you can't sell that because, you know, you should have given it to me for 30 cents on the dollar. And I'm like, and people are saying, like, oh, look at how much better this one is because it would have had all this green space. And I'm like, no, they were only going to buy that 1 acre. That green space was the stuff that they were telling the city, like, you develop that with whatever. Like, they're like, no, they were going to have a stage. They were like, no, they were saying the city could build a stage. Like, that's not, like, you're comparing two things. Like, everybody's trying to compare stuff that's, like, not real options. And so I was like, okay, I need to look this up.
So I worked in the trades in the Milwaukee area. And one of the jobs I ended up getting was, it was for like a concrete, well, asphalt / concrete / landscaping company. And so I had the job of, I was an assistant to the assistant of the president. And I would design little parking lot drawings for them, like how we're going to pour this asphalt. But I also would go into the bidding rooms and bring the bid from this company to the school or the hospital or whatever. And then we would sit there, and sometimes it's an open bid, sometimes it's a closed bid. And it was always interesting what happens in those bidding rooms. And the other thing that it was strange to me at first because I didn't understand how it all, like the machinery behind the scenes. But I like, if I didn't come back with like every word that was spoken in the bidding room, even if we lost the bid, my boss's boss would be furious because he wanted to know, if it's an open bid, what's the price point everyone's bidding at, and what are they saying, and how is the person receiving the bid responding? Because like the construction companies all work, they're all in opposition constantly. So like you can learn, oh well, okay, this company's going into this bid and they always bid this amount, so we're going to go 400 over, not 500 over, because they always do 500 over. That's just their rule of thumb. And it was just so funny to me to like be like, okay, so local politics, construction, and just so much of the world we live in, we just don't think about. You're like, you're going to work and you're doing this and doing that. You're going, I don't even know how we got here, or what's happening, and Zoom's going to die on us. So let's back up and then go.
Okay.
Recording in progress. Okay, round 2. Here we go.
Cool.
Where do you want to take this?
I don't know. Yeah, the parking lot thing, like, I think you caught that because I put up the picture. It's like, it's one of the many things where I'm like, I hate democracy because I don't want to care about this. Like, this is, like, this should not be my business, but like, because it's the city and it's like, crap, like, if this was private people's money or whatever, like, I wouldn't feel like I have any say in it or whatever. But because of like the city government-y aspect, and like, I'm like the world's worst anarchist or something, like, I'm almost like, I take the BS about like, oh no, this is your government and all that kind of, like, and I'm like, well then, all right, I'm going to take it seriously. And if you're doing a bunch of nonsense, like, I'm going to speak up or something. And so, yeah, like, these people, they did the bids, and I'm kind of upset that like it got blown up for stupid reasons, the deal. Like, I don't know. But there are other things that I deal with more often, like with spending and stuff. And I don't know.
Let me ask you this. So, because I remember one of the comments that you made to me on X was, because you had sent, there's a parking lot picture that you had sent, like, I think a news article about it, and I kind of like skimmed through it, and then I responded to you, and then you responded to me, and you were like, we might not align politically here, so da 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 da. But what interests me is not like what team you've signed up for, because I don't really care. What interests me is the fact that you're engaged in local politics, and how, like, in your time in the local politics sphere, city council meetings, are you seeing a lot of different people from the full political spectrum of opinion that are active and engaged? And are you seeing a debate that moves like at a local level, that actually there's people are having conversations worth having and discussing things, and even though people disagree, there's a higher level of conversation than the things that are talked about at a national level?
I don't know about that. Like, because I'm not good at knowing what kind of thing will get people worked up. Like, but for instance, that parking lot thing, like 26 people showed up to the city council meeting to talk about that. One of them said, just sell the freaking building. This is a parking lot. We need more housing for people who want to be close to the university. Obviously, just do it. And then 25 other people said, how dare you? Like, you're ruining Northgate, like, historic, yada yada. No vision. I don't know, stuff like that. And I think the 25 people were wrong on that. but I'm not going to get into a situation where I can talk with those people face to face, just because I don't think they want to, and they've got no reason to listen to me. And like, okay, if we try to understand each other's position, like I suspect they're trying to get something out of the city that they wouldn't be able to get otherwise, and like that's, I don't know, like I'm willing to like, okay, so what are you looking for, and why do you think this is the right way to get it? Like, if I could have that kind of conversation with people, like that'd be great. But there's not a lot of that. There's a lot of, well, no, we've put together a political action committee, and we've made it so that we can institute zoning changes that make it so that you can't have more than 2 unrelated people in certain neighborhoods. Like, and I'm like, what? That sounds terrible. But the fact of the matter is they got the votes. So like, that's kind of where local politics, like it's kind of annoying with the democratic process. And so I kind of don't play that game so much. Like, I'm not going to try to change public opinion on stuff, really. But my thing is to maybe shed some light on an issue to where the people who are in charge, like, crap, okay, we can look into it. And then like, so for instance, there was one with there was a company that had economic development incentives where the city was like, okay, if you set up a business here and you follow these rules, we'll give you, 50 grand in this, and then, going on for years, we'll give you more payments. And I found out, like, and this was right around the time of COVID, and I was like, wait a minute, that can't be right. And the reason why I looked at them was because my buddies were actually fixing to get fired from them, because they were like, we're not going to tell you if we're vaccinated or not. And the company was like, we don't care if you're vaccinated, just tell us if you're vaccinated. We're not saying you have to be vaccinated. And they're like, no, we're not starting this game with y'all. And so I was like, huh. And during the conversation about that, like, I learned that nobody was in the office anyway. And so they were like, this is kind of ridiculous. Like, and I was like, wait a minute, there's no one in the office anyway. This is a company, because I learned that, they got these tax incentives, and the company already knew that they were going to be there, but they wound up finagling these tax incentives because they were like, I don't know, we're thinking about it. And it's like, they weren't thinking about it, they were doing the thing, but they got some money from the city because they pretended that they might not stay. And so I found out that they were lying on their compliance reports, and then I found out, like, no, they're like really lying. Like, they were including people who weren't full-time employees. They were including people who weren't working in the area, like including people who were working in Austin and stuff. But they were like, and they had a thing in there saying that oh, this is going to get signed off by a CPA, and they didn't do that either. And I'm like, they're lying. Like, they're defrauding the city out of this thing, and economic incentive agreements are stupid anyway. So I was like, I'm going after this, and I'm, and like, I talked to the economic development people, and they were like, nah, like, we already sent them the check. Like, maybe we'll look harder next year. And so, like, I was like, shit, what do I do? And then the mayor of Bryan kind of said, like, what the hell's going on? Like, that building is empty. Like, and so, like, that got a little bit more interest in it. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to figure something out. And I called up the city auditor. And apparently this is not the kind of thing that he normally does. Apparently I'm the only person who's ever called the city auditor, like, to try to, like, hey, there's some fraud. He's like, I don't have any money allocated to this. Like, you can come to a meeting and, like, we can ask the city for money to look into this, but, like, I have other things that I have to look at and staff hours, that are allocated to that. So I can't look at your thing unless they say to do that. And so then I went to a meeting, And like the city manager said, "Oh, we're already doing an investigation." I did an open records request. There was no record of an investigation prior to that. And then like the economic development people said, like, I didn't say that. Like they said a bunch of bullshit. And then the economic development corporation said, like, no, these are straight shooters. And then like, no, I'm like, nobody ever asked me, hey, Brian, you're an economic consultant. You do this. You look at these stupid numbers for a living. Why are you so sure this is fraud? No one asked that. Literally no one asked that. And then, months later it comes back like, oh, it turns out that blah, 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 all the stuff that I could have told them. So yeah, the right thing to do is to send the money back, and we're going to do that. And yeah, after the thing, like there was one city council person who said, Brian, you pushed on this and turned out you were right. And I was like, lady, like I wouldn't have said that. Everybody hates my guts. Like having a whole room like Brian can't be right. This is terrible. Like, cause it's embarrassing to everybody. Like the guys who defrauded, the Economic Development Corporation who set up the whole deal and was the one saying like, oh, they complied with all the stuff. And then the economic development people who can't read I don't know. I'm being too harsh.
Okay, let me ask.
It's not. Yeah.
Because one of the things that I might be hearing you say is there's all kinds of things happening at a local political level. And these things go on whether we notice them or not.
Mm-hmm.
But there are tools, procedures, etc., that are available to all of us as citizens that allow you to look into the things that are going on around us despite whether we look at it. And when you do that, you can pull facts and receipts out of that process, and then you can present facts to rooms of decision makers. And if that is done in a public place, then those decision makers have to deal with the facts.
Yeah.
Face the consequences of potential consequences of ignoring facts. But okay. And that also means that one human being in a town can become a gadfly or the thorn in the side of power if that one human being is willing to sacrifice reputation, is willing to have people angry at them, upset with them, etc.
Yeah. And there's actually like there's no consequences that like I could have gone to that audit committee meeting and they could have said, we don't care. And then it doesn't, like, I know I'm right, but I'm right with numbers. Nobody cares. And if they are committed enough to like not dealing with the thing that I said, there's no, you shrug your shoulders, like, and it's just like, yeah. And that can be really frustrating. And so like, that's another, like, I feel, I mean, a little over 2 years ago, there was a guy whose apartment was searched, is the word that the police use, at 6 a.m. Later on, I found out they used a flashbang. He had gone into the closet with his girlfriend, and when the police kicked in his door, he fired his shotgun and got shot in the face. He's dead. And like, that thing happened, and I looked it up, and I'm like, oh, if you look at the affidavit, like the police hadn't, I don't know, it's a whole thing. And like, there's things like that where you can get really frustrated. Like that's one where I've spoken to the police chief, and he yeah, there were details that he did not disclose when I spoke with him, and then 6 months later, the family finally came out and said, like, hey, here's the thing that happened, here's the thing that, and I was like, oh, like, I was not told about those things. Yeah, and I don't know. But the city's stance has always been, we don't disclose body cams, and in this case, because it was like 4 searches at once related to this one guy who still hasn't had trial yet. So I suspect it at least won't be until this October that the body cam's released. And you read what happened, it doesn't hit people the right way, and so it's not. They can just say Brian's wrong, and that's what they have done. Is like Brian's mischaracterizing what happened, and the stuff that I'm talking about is stuff on paper that you'd have to read. And that doesn't connect with people in the way that like a video would or something like that. And if the police are able, and the city is willing to say, it's a really tragic thing, but like, listen, he shot at the police. We don't know why he shot at the police. Like, what he hoped to gain from shooting at the police, and that, like, and so they can just say that, and that lies with a lot of, like, enough people that like there's no, and so there's, I don't know why I brought that one. That one gets me, but yeah, with other things too. Yeah.
So I think maybe 2 or 3 times I think you use the word libertarian to describe yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And I have never been personally that interested in political parties, only because I guess one of my, like, I don't know, theories or frames I view life through is that political parties are kind of like clothes we wear that kind of reveal whatever our deepest priority is. And so, I mean, the human being has to put something in a priority place to make a decision, kind of. I don't know if that's true or if I'm making that up. And so people go, I value this most, and so therefore I choose this party to align with. And so I'm curious for you, like what do you value most? Because you're talking a lot about I want to know the way this happened. I want to know what's real. I mean, these are really deep questions that can easily, like, we could have easily end up in some kind of like argument about a politics level. I'm going like, but what's deeper than that for Brian of College Station? What do you hold most dear? Why does this matter so much to you?
So I'm going to put the political party thing. That's how a lot of people see political parties, and it's not totally dissimilar from how I see them, but I see them more, what do they do, which is a little bit different from the, like, because especially having run for, like, there's sausage making in the process of
totally.
Yeah. But the deep, like, why do I care? Or so getting to that Enneagram 1E thing or something, I don't know. I've looked into some stuff, and I try to be truthful, and I'm pretty sure on some things, like I'm pretty sure I'm right on this, and I feel like it matters on at least, some of these things. I care also a lot about things that don't matter, but on some, like, I feel like people who should know don't know, or that some people, like, I have a feeling that if you understood things the way I think they kind of actually are, you would make a different decision. And I'd like to be the kind of person that would be able to say, like, okay, but your values are not my values. Like, okay, that's understandable that you would come to a different conclusion than me because you don't value the same things I do. That's fine. But it's when somebody claims to have certain values and then but those that doesn't comport. Like when they start talking about things like, oh, we want to build a convention center because it's gonna be a big driver of business, and I'm like, it's not like, but I want to see what your assumptions are when you did this back of the envelope stuff, like, because hopefully you did some back of the envelope stuff when you're talking about building a $200 million thing, like before you start hiring consultants to like, and they're like, back of the envelope, so what are you talking about? And I'm like, what the hell? Like, just pull out a calculator and start saying like, okay, assuming 50 weekends, 2,000 people spending, $500 a weekend, how much, multiplied by the tax rate, how much could the city expect to get back? Like, these are not complicated. And is that going to be exactly right? And is 50 weekends the right thing, or should it be more than 500? I don't know, but like, at least figure out if you're in the realm of, is this thing worth it or whatever? If that's what you actually care about, is like, oh no, it's going to drive a lot of business. And then or like, oh, we have a baseball, we need more baseball fields. And I'm like, wait, is this, and it'll drive business. Like, oh, it'll drive business. How much business? No. There's a shortage of places for little leaguers. How do you know there's a shortage? Like, have you looked at the data? No, well, we haven't done analysis. And I'm like, what the shit? Like, you're talking about spending $15 million on 3 baseball fields, and you haven't looked into it. And it's like, well, some people came up to us and said that they need it. And I'm like, the people who run tournaments who are going to be using these $5 million baseball fields that the city's going to build for them told you that they need them? Like, and that's the level of like analysis that you're doing before you're taking $15 million of taxpayer money? Like, I get crazy. Like, just, I don't know what yeah. Because I want to help people.
You want to help? No, go ahead.
Or I don't know, and maybe it sounds disingenuous. Maybe did I just lie? I don't know. I suspect their values might not be actually what they say their values are. I think they want to stand in front of stuff and cut red ribbons because it does look cool, and
it does look cool.
And you get to say like, dude, I built that, and I guess.
Do you know how much the giant scissors cost?
I do not.
There's got to be a data point somewhere, because they can't be cheap, right?
I suspect not.
How many pairs of giant scissors does the city own? Is there only one pair?
I suspect it's only one. And I wouldn't be surprised that they should like pass them around. Like, we've got a Twin City to the north. Like, hopefully we could consolidate the scissors. get a what do you call it? A neutral color, like, and maybe get a removable sticker you can for branding.
You got to have your branding. You got to have
yeah.
Have you read Plato's The Republic? And if so, do you see yourself as participating in that story today?
I've read part of it in school. I think that's one of the ones that I actually did read. I was listening to a thing. They were talking about people in the corner buying books and reading them. And like, I buy books, but I don't read them so much as I should. But that's one that I actually think that I read a little bit of. And that was like 20 plus years ago though. And
what's interesting about it is just the way that like you can zoom back, I don't know if it's 3,000 years, 2,500 years ago, a few thousand years ago. Oh, they were trying to figure out how do you run a city well. And there's an argument that like, because the book is on the front of it, it's about how do you run a city well. But there's a pretty strong argument that's also like, how do you run a human soul well? Because the human soul is a city. And you go,
because it's like fractal or whatever. Yeah.
Something like that. And so to hear you talking about, these different elements of local politics that have captured your attention, and then to see how like there's this deep inner part of you that is like connected to these different like I know FOIA is the wrong word. I can't remember the word you use. These different,
In Texas, it's called an open records request, but it's FOIA equivalent. On the national level, it's FOIA. Same thing, same thing.
Yeah, and like there's Brian of College Station who is an Enneagram 1 and who is on a search for truth and wants to talk about facts and hey, this is what's really going on, and like this soul in the city, like they're just kind of inseparable to me, at least.
Mm-hmm. And there's a part of me that wants, like, I'm maybe it's because the most recent thing I've read about or something is like this elite theory stuff, like the Burnham Machiavellians thing. I don't know what this, but like there are elites that run this city. I'm not a part of their club, but I want to throw things and like get them to step up their game. Because if they step up their game, then it's going to be good for my city. And I was doing this before I had a family, but I started telling myself this story that it's more important now that I have a family. So I live in this town with my mom lives here, my bunch of my in-laws live here, my wife's folks and her sister live in the area, and then I've got a buddy, and like the way these people run the city, especially with the zoning thing, they make it so that it's university and then retirement community. Like they kind of bust up the whole thing where people try to get a job after college or get an internship while they're in college that then can swing into like kind of the life that I was able to get, like and get married and live in a place where you can, like, I want there to be an opportunity for like my kids, if they want to go to school and then move back to this town, that there can be a life for them. And I think that the way the city's kind of running itself is like they are not leaning into taking advantage of the amazing opportunity that we have with that university, that the state just dumps so much money, and like we've got really clever people and all that kind of stuff. Like we've got a gold mine, and the city's like screwing it up. And I want them to step up their game and stop being distracted by, like, oh, we're gonna create ball fields, or oh, we're going to create economic development incentive agreements to get this company to build a facility 4 miles away from the university, like, which is might as well be Timbuktu. Like it's the walking distance that, like being real close is the reason why people do stuff. Here you might as well be in Hearn or something. Anyway, and so like if they get their act together, like it could be incredible. Like, I don't know. And so yeah, that's a part of it.
Yeah, I love that some of this for you is like I see the potential here and I want to like participate in unleashing the potential of this place. I used to work in mega church land, and I mean, we didn't have city council meetings, but we had things that functioned like a city council meeting.
Like elders or something.
Well, we had multiple campuses, and so there were spaces where people from across campuses could, well, come and complain essentially, or be like, "This doesn't work for us over here. This thing you've instituted church wide, we're over here in this city. It's a different city, yada yada." And because I was on staff and in just the role I was in, I was a part of the conversations that nobody saw, to where it was like, okay, here's the thing, guys. We know Brian's coming tonight, and Brian's going to have the hard questions. So do you have the stuff printed off? Because I don't want to hear Brian ask a hard question, and then I'm going to turn to you because I have the microphone, and you're going to be like, I didn't print the stuff off today. So is it printed off? I think like that's the story that I feel like we got from you tonight. But it's like one person you can make people better. And I'm sure there are conversations to some degree of like, maybe they don't know it's Brian. Maybe you wear that hat every time, and it's okay. The Make Grace Amazing Again guy is going to be here tonight, and we better be prepared. We better have our stuff, otherwise, we're going to look like fools. I guess I don't know if I'm an optimist, but I think change is possible. I think things can get better with effort.
I think you're right. Yeah, and it's not always visible even. I've got a buddy at work who like pointed out, like, Brian, you're probably not going to all this hubbub you're doing and digging in and complaining or whatever about, the thing with the flashbang. The police are probably going to be more careful when they do this going forward. And you might not see that, you won't know that Making Waves did anything, but and that might be how it kind of works, is like, yeah, sometimes you do things and you're not going to be able to see. But I think trying to make sure that you don't do it out of like anger and righteous bullshit, and like, because that can happen. I'd like to think I'm not doing it as much as I could. Like, I'm not falling into it as hard as I could. And for sure I've fallen into that quite a bit. Like, like I've been upset for 2 years about that one thing. And like, it wasn't until like 8 months ago that I was like, wait a minute, I've never like prayed for any of the leaders that are in charge of, like, what the shit's wrong? Like, I'm just mad, and it's not good for me. But yeah,
have you started
trying to make sure that I haven't, but I've started feeling bad about the fact that I haven't, which is, it was like, I don't know how to do that. I need to start learning. I feel like I do the Episcopalian thing. I don't know, like, I should try to find something in that Book of Common Prayer and see if something applies, and see if somebody else did it better than me.
Your will be done, not ours. Your will be done, not ours. Your will be done, not ours.
That's a good one.
I would hope that's
like 3
that we could all agree on.
Yeah. No, for sure. And yeah. And occasionally I'm goofy enough to think that I know what that would look like, but I know that I don't know what that would look like if I really think about it. And that's a good prayer.
Okay, so I got the time warning again. We have 7 minutes.
Cool.
So I have one last question.
Sure.
Why is Grace amazing?
Oh man, no, that's another one. I made this hat because back in the day I used to drink a lot more and have ideas, and with the Covington kid, you remember that, with when the Native American man started banging the drum in the face of the kid, and everybody said like, God, this kid's, yeah, and we were talking about like, what could he have done differently that would have been like, so he didn't move. Like, if he ran away from the guy, I don't know if you paid attention to, but
no,
the kid just didn't move. And we're like, that's almost the perfect thing to do. And he was trying to keep a straight face and he couldn't, but everybody was like, he's smirking, he's a jerk. And we're like, what could he have done better? And like, we came to the conclusion, like, he could have sung Amazing Grace. Like, if he would have done that, like, it's really hard to get mad at somebody for singing Amazing Grace. And so then I thought, like, but he was wearing that hat. And so I thought, man, they should have a hat that to like make, and since then I've been trying to figure out what the hat means so I went to I found out who made the Trump hats. It's a joint in California, and I got them made. I had to start a company. Like, now I have to tell the state of Texas that I didn't sell any hats once a quarter. And if I don't, then I have to pay them $70 because I forgot to send them a thing that said 0. I'm the world's worst entrepreneur. And so now, like, what does it mean to make grace amazing again? Like, I think there's an irony in it, because like we don't make grace amazing, but we almost kind of do, because like we notice it and we get amazed. And like that's what, like, and so making grace amazing again, it's like making the Grand Canyon grand again. Like, no, it's always grand, like, but do you show up and look at it and get wowed? And I think, I don't know, and it's yeah, I think, I don't know, I'd like to think that there's something there, but occasionally it spurs like, so what kind of a Christian are you? And it's like, ah, crap, I do not want to have this conversation.
Are you okay if we end with the benediction?
Sure. I don't know if I know what that is, but let's do it.
May you notice the grace of God that is always around you and at all times. May you be amazed. Brian,
As often as possible. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, man. This was fun.
Pleasure. Thanks for doing it. Yeah. Thanks for setting it up.
Any closing words?
No. Thanks. Be good.
Ditto.
Yeah. Gig 'em.